What's up, everybody? Problems back here again. YouTube world period. College football is getting ready to kick off. We're right around the corner. I'm excited. I know the whole country's excited. All the football nuts like me, they just can't wait. They just can't even wait to get the season started. I know that I'm excited as can be, pumped up. I know that that's the national championship every year. It's just like, well, what am I going to do until football starts? I got the summer, I guess, but for the most part, what the hell am I going to do? Gives a shit about baseball or basketball besides college football. But Thursday, September 3rd, South Carolina UNC kicking it off in Charlotte. Neither one of these teams got national champion written across their forehead or whatever, but, whatever. It's still football. I'm excited. South Carolina's going to take it regardless. I hate to say that to all the Tar Heel fans out there, but, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? We also got Michigan and Utah. It's going to be interesting. I'm ready to see the Harbaugh era up there in Ann Arbor. I know as a coach, he's the man. And me personally, I don't see anybody else in the Big Ten going to stir and cause as much problems as Jim Harbaugh should. Urban Meyer pretty much stepped into that conference and said, this is me, this is what we do, we win national championships while I'm here, and that's what we do on my watch. Harbaugh's a hell of a coach, he's a hell of a players coach, and if there's a set number of teams in the country that just demand to win, and no matter who they've got there or what's going on, they demand for their program to be prestigious, and that's Michigan. That's the Big Blue, is a team and a school that just demands to win at everything they possibly can. So with that coach being there and being the players coach that he is, you got to expect big things. Maybe not the first year, but it's going to be exciting to see how just Michigan runs, and we get to see it on Friday. It's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be pretty exciting. Friday night, we got somewhat of a big game. You got Washington and Boise State. Washington lost a lot of players in the draft, and overall, the amount of talent they put out in the draft, I figured they should have been winning national championships. It's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back, but Washington has been a sleeper team in the past couple years. You can't really cross them off as being a win, but you can't really write them down as being the champion. So they're just one of those teams. Now Boise State back in the top 25. Can they beat Washington? I'm going to take Washington in this one. I think that being the Pac-12 and whatever else, but I think Washington is the better squad in that matchup, and that's Friday night. Saturday kicks off September 5th. A lot of big games, a lot of big conference collisions, ACC, SEC. There's a couple of them. Big Ten, SEC, some big name games. I like that. I like opening up the opening week with just big games. It gets everything going. It really sets the tone for the rest of the year. You got Louisville, Auburn. Louisville's kind of a sleeper in the ACC. I know a couple people are picking them to be pretty good, whatever. Auburn, it's Auburn, so they're always good. You gotta take Auburn. Being an ACC guy, diehard Hokie, you gotta take Auburn. Any smart guy, anybody that is willing to put money down on the game would have to take Auburn. You just can't take Louisville over Auburn. But it is the opening game of the season, so who knows? The opening week is opening week. Teams just aren't well oiled yet. You haven't got your chemistry together. You got to fight the jitters and getting out on the field and figuring out who they are, who's going to step up, who can handle pressure, who can't, blah blah blah. First week, so that could be anything. Another big game, and I think one of the coaches on the hot seat, if not the hottest seat in the country right now, is going to be Mike London. UVA's taking on UCLA. Uh, Mike London is a hell of a coach. I mean, he's a good coach, and he's taken a lot of recruits out of the 757 area as far as recruiting goes, and that's where Virginia Tech has laid claim to, back in the glory days. And since Mike London's come around, he's ridden that area. He's pulling in recruits. He's a hell of a coach. But the University of Virginia has not set him up for success at all, which is probably why they haven't fired his ass yet. But I mean, every year, it's just their non-conference schedule is like, oh, well, we play the ACC, so it's not hard. Let's just load up with as much badass teams as we can. And once again, they start off again this year. They start off with UCLA. I mean, granted, Hundley's not there, but I mean, come on, man. It's UCLA. Do you really want to play them first game of the year again? But they almost had them last year. Virginia's got the talent. They do. And maybe not. Don't sleep on them. I don't think they're going to win. But as far as taking the spread, absolutely. I'd take that all day. Mike London has been recruiting 5-star players. They were young in the past year, and they're finally starting to become upperclassmen. The talent level's there. It's time for him to shit or get off the pot. And I think that UVA has the chance to beat UCLA. And if not, keep it close enough, closer than the spread is going to be. I can promise you that. I'll be taking UVA as far as the spread goes, but UCLA should win. Another big one is going to be Arizona State, Texas A&M. I mean, Arizona State always seems to be really good year in and year out, but you don't really see much of them. They can't get the Pac-12 together, but they're always a solid team. Texas A&M, I mean, it's SEC and it's also Texas A&M, so you can't go against them. So I'm actually going to take Texas A&M in this one. I'm going to maybe the upset against Arizona State. Big games for the night: Wisconsin, Alabama. I mean, it's Alabama. It's Nick Saban. You think he's not going to have that Crimson Tide oiled and ready to go, despite what you read, despite what positions that they have to fill? It's Alabama, and that's just the bottom line. It's Alabama. They're another one of those programs that is just going to win because that's what they expect, especially in Alabama because they've got nothing else. So Alabama over Wisconsin. Some people will be like, what? Yeah, well, it is what it is. Monday, September 7th, Labor Day. Blacksburg, Virginia, Lane Stadium. It's going to be nuts. I will be there. Maybe one of the biggest games in Lane Stadium ever. Got my orange Warriors of Worship shirt ready. Orange Effect is going to be there. Virginia Tech just announced their new uniforms for the game. Been reading a lot of stuff. Hype videos or watching hype videos and reading articles and things like that. And also reading a couple things Urban Meyer's doing over there in Ohio State. Now, let me tell you something. The man has got the boys in Columbus practicing to Enter Sandman on blast on repeat. Now, for whoever's watched a game on TV that has been in Blacksburg, if anyone's ever been to a game in Lane Stadium, we don't pack 100,000 people into the stands. That's not what we do. We're 60,000 strong, and it's hands down one of the loudest stadiums in the country. Hands down, anybody who's ever been there. And if you say otherwise, then you're probably just a jackass altogether. It's an intense place to play, and Urban Meyer's got his boys listening to it nonstop. So you think that the Buckeyes ain't going to be ready when they come rolling into Blacksburg? Yeah, right. But Frank Beamer, they got an offense, maybe, who knows? We've been listening to the song of Virginia Tech might have an offense for years. Defensively, they probably are going to be one of the best defenses in the country. Knock on wood. Now, conference picks, you got a lot, maybe a changing of the guard, I guess you could say, in a couple conferences. ACC, I mean, out of the Atlantic Division, I mean, you got to go with Clemson. I mean, Florida State, yeah, returning some players, and they picked up Ever Golston, but I feel like they lost a lot of talent. Deshaun Watson and Clemson really showed, even as a freshman, if the kid can stay healthy. I mean, you got to start talking about Heisman after, depending on this season, if he stays healthy. I don't see him decreasing anywhere. Clemson seems that they can keep rebuilding talent as far as their South Carolina school can go, but I mean, you have to pick them as being the favorite in the Atlantic, and then in the Coastal, I'm gonna take my boys. I think with a medium offense, if the offense can even partially get it together, partially with some of the young players that we had last year, hopefully our tailbacks can stay healthy. We were loaded up in freshman receivers last year. Michael Brewer was brand new to the offense. Our offensive line was somewhat new, I guess. All these guys have experience, and they all started. Michael Brewer's there, he's been there all summer, all year. He's learned it. His tailbacks are back. Bucky Hodges is hands down probably one of the most talented players that we've had in Blacksburg, at least at the position. I mean, we've had some really good ones, and I think that everybody's talking about Georgia Tech this, Georgia Tech that. Virginia Tech only lost to Georgia Tech in the last seconds and by less than 5 points last year. Our defense is only going to be better, and our offense should be better. I mean, on paper, they should be better. I know the Hokie fans have heard this before year in and year out talking about we should be, and then we never are. But they should be better this year. So I'm taking Virginia Tech, Clemson, ACC Championship in Charlotte. You gotta say Clemson. I don't want to say it, but maybe Clemson. I don't know. That's a toss-up. Who knows? The ACC, who knows? But at least Clemson and Virginia Tech top out of the Atlantic and the Coastal. The Big Ten goes. The East, you got to take Ohio State, but don't sleep on Penn State. They've been building a lot. They've overcome a lot, and now they're starting to recruit players again, and they're starting to play football again. Penn State is a sleeper. But, I mean, ultimately, with the amount of talent and the coach, you have to take Ohio State on that side of that division. And then coming out of the other side, you got to take Wisconsin. There's a couple teams that might give them a little bit of a run. But ultimately, I mean, Ohio State's got the biggest side to deal with. And Wisconsin should be able to get theirs. And then it's going to be Ohio State, Wisconsin in the Big Ten Championship. Ohio State all the way. Out of the Big 12, well, I don't know how you can go against TCU at all. I'm not real sure how that even would go about, but TCU out of the Big 12. Pac-12, the North and the South. Out of the North, I go off on a whim. A lot of people talking about, this, that, and who could win it with Mariota being gone and this, that, and the other. I'm going to take Stanford. I think that they've got some players coming back. Their offensive line is going to be real good. Hogan has come back for a senior year. Had his ups and downs last year. I think they're going to get it together. They've got a good tight end set this year. And if anybody watches Stanford football, when they have tight ends, whether it be one or two, talent-wise, Stanford's always that team to be reckoned with, and they are going to be really good this year. And I'm going to take Stanford how that goes. And as far as the South goes, I mean, on paper, granted, like I said, the year hasn't even started yet, but on paper, you have to take USC. I mean, the amount of returning starters that they have, they should be able to run through the South, at least get that far. I mean, they got some competition, but Cody Kiesler and, USC should win. So it's going to be Stanford, USC, and the Trojans going to win the Pac-12. But that matchup right there, Stanford and USC, the rivalry there, I would love to see that in a championship game. And then in the SEC, of course, you got the West, and I'm going to take Alabama. I think LSU is a sleeper as far as that goes. Their tailback is going to be something serious. He was a freshman last year, but LSU, I just don't think they have the depth all the way around. Next year, is going to be really scary with LSU, but I don't think they're quite ready yet. So I got to take Alabama out of the South. I'm going to say Georgia out of the East. And I know everybody's, oh, what? Yeah, well, ESPN and Bleacher Report and several others are talking about Tennessee, and don't count Florida out. I know I said it last year, but don't count Florida out. The amount of talent they got down there, I think they just had to get it together. And what's his name coming from Colorado State is going to be real big for them. And Florida might be scary, but not yet. So I'm going to take Georgia because they got that Chubb. You got that Chubb back there at tailback, and he is something of a lot of fun to watch. He's a beast. He's a beast. And I was saying that with Gurley last year, and then when Gurley got hurt and Chubb stepped in, I was like, oh, damn, this boy is something serious. So I'm going to take Georgia and Alabama to win the SEC. Now, with the beginning of the year, everybody starts talking about this. When you hear about the national champions and who it can be and so forth and blah, blah, blah. I like to talk about who the Heismans, the big names for Heisman are. I know that you always have the favorites and you always have the sleepers that come in later on. But, I mean, at the beginning of the year, you got to talk about your Heismans. My top Heisman picks, obviously, if he's going to run the offense, J.T. Barrett has a solid shot at doing that. He, besides for the Virginia Tech game last year, he played extremely well, and then his backup Jones is just a freak of nature too. So no matter who you got back there, they're going to do really well. But I think J.T. Barrett is the way that Ohio State, I think he's going to be starting for him, and I think he's going to be one of the premier quarterbacks in the league this year. After that, you got to say Nick Chubb from Georgia. Anybody who watched him play, the kid is a monster. He's power, he's speed, the agility, all of it. He's got all the tangibles to be a really phenomenal player. Not just at this level, but at the NFL level as well. And you have to put him on your radar. There's a lot of defenses in the SEC East that he's going to be running through this year, and anybody who says otherwise is completely crazy. Next one is Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State. I know in the Virginia Tech game last year, he didn't do all that great. I mean, he was still good, but anybody who watched him play in the clutch last year sees that this boy has got mad skills. He's going to be really good, and you have to put him on the front runner because whoever they've got at the helm in Ohio State, whether it be Barrett or Jones, you have to worry about Ezekiel Elliott being extremely good as well. But my favorite to win the whole thing is going to be Trayvon Boykin. As far as a college quarterback goes, he's got what it takes to make the big plays, to just make things happen, to run a team, to manage an offense, to get his players hyped, and to literally take a game into his own hands and win it by himself. And that's what he can do. And then when you put skilled players around him, they make him look even better, as does he makes them look really amazing as well. So, TCU's going to have its bumps because they've got a couple games they need to play. But besides that, I mean, you got to take Boykin as far as the Heisman Trophy goes. That's all I've got for Problems Talking Football starting off in week 1. Everybody, I know that everybody out there is excited as I am about getting this year started. I hope everybody enjoys it, and I'll see you back here week 2. Hokey, 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 ha!